Yeah. Right. Well, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, we have a special guest with us. Iman White is joining us, and we're going to have a discussion about mindset, about hormones, about why we can't lose weight. Hopefully, you'll be able to take away some value from this, that you'll be able to, go about your daily life, your daily habits, maybe change a few things and actually start to see some results. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Iman. I really appreciate you making time to, bring this value to our community.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Iman, I'm curious, how did you get into the coaching space?
Oh boy. The famous question, right? So,
Right.
to make a long story short, because it could be the entire training if I went really deep into my background.
Right.
I had I've witnessed a lot of people not taking care of their health growing up. So unfortunately, my dad struggled with substance abuse. My grandpa also did all different types, right? Abusing alcohol, abusing cigarettes.
Mm.
Um, and just kind of, watched my family members just not really keep up with their health. And I think that really inadvertently instilled a value of health within me. And I think, like a lot of people do when they're exposed to that level of trauma, we take it into a different extreme. So I got really, really serious about taking care of my health towards the end of my high school years and into my early college career, and did everything the absolute ass backwards way. When I first started, of course, I slashed my calories really low. I was super stressed out. I wasn't sleeping and didn't really realize it was such a problem until I lost my period at the age of 19, which is
Mhm.
crazy. I mean, you're 19 years old, you should be pretty fertile at that point, and I didn't have a period. I started developing really bad gut health issues, and the biggest telltale sign for me was that my mental health was really poor. And so I started realizing, like, I must be doing something wrong. I should be getting healthier, but I actually feel and look worse. I had lost weight, but I was very, like, puffy and bloated and,
Mhm.
just didn't feel good. I didn't have a lot of muscle mass. And so basically what I did was, I started to learn more about the human metabolism. I started to learn more about human psychology and realize that the two are inextricably linked when it comes to becoming healthy, and started just diving deep into both of them. So my degree was in psychology, so it was easy for me to understand, or it was easy for me to access really good information in terms of human behavior. And then I loved working out and understanding the human body. So I dove deeper into metabolism. And um, I was planning to go to grad school, ended up deciding not to do that, and just take a bit of a break to decide what I really wanted to do. And that was actually kind of during the pandemic. I was working at an in-person gym and really liked it, and realized how important it was for people to understand the right way to lose weight in order for it to be effective and long lasting. So I stuck with that, and then eventually took my business online, and that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. I do think you're right. What we witness growing up can, mightily influence us. And sometimes that influence is good, sometimes it's bad. And then I think what a lot of people, especially in our space, have done is that we see the bad and we don't want to be like that. So we make, that 180 turn and choose to help people
Yeah.
and try to work on our health. That's awesome. I can totally relate to that. Um,
Yeah.
so it's super interesting that you were studying also psychology, and I can think that would be such a huge asset inside of this space because everyone thinks that they just need the perfect workout, the perfect diet, when really it's mostly in our head that we have
Yeah.
to work on things. So
Yeah.
that is cool. You probably have
Uh,
a ton
a
of
thousand percent. So my big focus. Yeah, I'm definitely not, an expert in it. I'm still trying to learn, but my big focus with my clients is, of course, there is the physical aspect of things, right? There's getting quality sleep, there's eating your protein, there's, all that stuff, strength training. But really, what I find is the bigger missing link for a lot of the women I work with is their mindset. And so I see these common patterns that they fall into that are really the reason they've been doing this for decades. Like, I think a lot of people who end up watching this training probably identify as someone who's been dieting or trying to lose weight for a really long time. And if we look at that and we say, okay, technology has gotten better over time. You have probably gotten smarter and learned more information because you've been trying to do this so long. Why is it that you're still stuck? Can we agree that it's probably not a lack of information, a lack of the proper technology, a lack of an understanding what to do, but rather some underlying factors that keep getting in your way? And so we see this time and time again with clients that come in, they lack a lot of different things. They lack a growth mindset, which is basically a belief that given enough time and resources, you can do anything. They lack a belief in themselves. They lack patience. They lack a willingness to get rid of excuses and change the way that they're doing this. And a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, they lack a true desire to change. And
Mhm.
so if you ask someone to change, how many steps they take in the day, they're willing to do that. If you ask someone to change, um, you know, how many days a week they go to the gym, they're willing to do that. But then you start to ask them to do things that are a little bit more difficult and they're not actually willing to do it. So you start to say, hey, I need about 85 to 90% of your diet to come from whole natural foods. And then that's when the excuses start coming in. That's when the self doubt starts coming in. I need you to hit your protein goals. That's when the excuses start coming in, right? So we find that there are these underlying mental skills that people just lack, and it keeps them in this cycle because ultimately what happens is whatever skill is the least developed is the one that becomes the biggest obstacle on your health journey. And it's different for different people. I work with clients who, like, I have a call with a client later today who she would admit it to you on this call if she were on it. She says, yeah, my biggest struggle is that I just make excuses for myself.
Mhm.
And then I have a client that I spoke to earlier today, and I said, hey, which mental skill are you feeling like you're lacking the most this week? And she said, for me, it's that my belief in myself is really low right now. So these things are all happening like underneath the surface. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme of like it's like an iceberg and it's like a bunch of like stuff on the
Oh,
top and then it's like, but what's really going on? Right. So like the common one will be like, for example, my favorite artist is Billie Eilish. So it'll be like all of Billie Eilish's most like popular songs at the top, and then like what the actual fans know to be her best songs. I think of that. I know that's like such a silly analogy, but like I think of that the same way with health and wellness and losing weight. It's like, here's what you think is holding you back, right? You think it's that your workout isn't perfect. You think that Coach Clarissa needs to lower your calories again. But what's actually happening is you have no belief in yourself. You're not managing your stress at all. You have a shitty mindset. Whatever it is, that's what's actually going on underneath the surface that's holding you back.
right. No, that's so true. The iceberg analogy is so good because once you start digging into the things that are, under the water, then you can actually start to resolve some of those things. And in doing so, progress becomes a lot less challenging. Like it's not as hard.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like one of the biggest excuses is that it's hard. Um, I have a really hard time
Yeah.
relating to that because my entire life has been nothing but hard. And so I think that's just normal. Like if it's not hard, then it's not worth doing. But I think that a lot
Yeah.
of people, especially when they're approaching some sort of physical goal, if it's challenging, if it's something outside the norm, then it just becomes something that is again too hard, and it kind of can go by the wayside.
Yeah, and I actually love that you brought up that word hard. First of all, hard is relative, right?
Mhm.
So for some people, getting out of bed before 7 a.m. is hard. For some people, having a conversation with your loved ones is hard. Whatever it is, right? I would I don't like that as like the end of the story. Like I don't like that as the final word in the sentence. Oh, sorry, this is just hard. It's like, okay, Sure, maybe that's your experience, but like we need to dive deeper into that. What is making this hard? For me, this is hard is just another excuse. And it's not that people don't want to be able to work on those things, but it's a cop out. Like we need to dive deeper. What is making this hard? Okay, meal prep is hard. Why is meal prep hard for you? Right? Oh, meal prep is hard because I don't have time. Okay, why don't you have time? I don't have time because, and then you just keep digging deeper and deeper, right? So let's keep going with this example. I don't have time because I always have to drive my kids around and I always have to go to a bunch of work stuff that I don't want to go to. Okay. Why do you always drive your kids around and go to a bunch of work stuff you don't want to go to? Oh, the real problem is you don't know how to set boundaries. Then we have peeled back the layers of the onion and we've gotten to the actual problem. So, again, going back to that iceberg analogy, you think it's just because eating healthy is hard. But really, what the actual problem is that you don't know how to set boundaries. But the problem is that most people stop here and they don't dive deeper into those things. And then, someone might be asking, well, why do we need to dive so deep? What's the point? Well, it's like if that's the number one thing holding you back, you need to figure out how to like chip away at that and knock that barrier down. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is to get to the root cause. That's a huge belief that I have, is that if you're not going to get to the root cause of a problem, it's going to constantly come right back up. Um, Obviously, being someone who at one point wanted to become a therapist, I have been in therapy myself a lot, and that's what therapy is whatever the therapist's therapeutic approach is or whatever their beliefs are around it is honestly kind of irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. Some approaches work better with other people and things like that, but what they are trying to do is get to a core belief or a core pattern that you have in your life and dismantle it and replace it with something more productive, that brings you more peace and more joy and whatever you're looking for. So it's the exact same thing with weight loss. It's like, you're not hitting your macros and you're not getting your whole natural foods in because that's hard. Well, we need to figure out what that means and dismantle that so that we can break down that barrier for you. Because it's my firm belief that there are about 9 to 10 things that just have to be done if you want to lose weight and keep it off. And you can dress it any which way you'd like, but they have to be done at the end of the day. And those include, stress management, sleep, getting your protein in, steps, getting sunlight, these things. We basically have to figure out for each individual person, how do you actually make that work for you? Because it has to be done in some way, shape, or form. Would
Right.
you agree with that? Or is that like a different approach than what you take with your clients?
No, no, I think that's fantastic. And I think it's really good you brought that up because I think it sounds like you work with people that are similar to who we work with in that they don't, they want to get the weight off, they want to keep the weight off. But what they're failing to understand is that we're not just going to give them a workout and we're not just going to give them a meal plan. We have to fix these underlying
Right.
things and we have to fix the foundational habits because if we don't, you're going to leave us and go get another 6 week program that'll get the weight off and then it will come right back. And you'll still be sick and nothing will be fixed and you won't keep the weight off. And I mean, I did a study once on how many diets women tend to do during the course of their life. And that amount of time that women spent dieting amounts to 63 years of our life spent trying to lose weight. Why the
Wow.
hell do you want that? Like, I don't get it. And it's because of just what you said that they're not fixing the foundational pieces.
Yeah. Another piece I'll add to this that I think it's my own original idea, but I'm sure I heard it somewhere else and it's probably not. So I'm not going to take credit for it. Is that I think people are addicted to starting over. So I
Uh,
think maybe a lot of the
yeah.
people that listen to this will resonate with that. We get this like really huge sense of accomplishment when we like do the first 3 days of a program or a training split or a diet or whatever. We love that feeling of like it's Monday, I'm gonna start over. Some people have this way worse than others. Like I've worked with people that I kid you not, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, diary looks perfect. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, diary looks like trash. It's because they're addicted to that I'll start Monday mentality, right? So I think going back to your point of spending 63 years dieting, it's like the reason people don't see success, there are a lot of different reasons. My belief is that it's mindset based usually. Um, So they don't see success and they love the feeling of starting fresh. So that's just what keeps them going time and time again.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that is a good point too, because and I think that's a good, segue into we have to be consistent. And I think it is probably the same for both of us. When we're working with someone, we don't expect to see a 100% perfect food diary all the time. We know that you're people, but what we're
Of
looking
course.
for and what you want to work towards, because it's so much more sustainable, is something that is on point like 80 to 85% of the time. And it's normal to go
Yeah.
off track. We don't have to beat ourselves up. You're not going to lose your progress. You're not going to gain 10 pounds overnight. I promise you, even if the scale goes up that much. But it's
Yeah.
it's that balance and learning to be more flexible and more forgiving of yourself, you know, so we don't have
Yeah.
to have 4
100%.
days where you're completely off track. That's a lot.
Yeah. My guess is that we were talking about this a little bit before your call, that a lot of the people you talk to are high achieving women, or men. I don't know if you work with just women, but
Just women.
high achieving people. Okay. High achieving women who like to get stuff done, who are very much like driven and go getters, right? And I find that a lot of women in that category are very data and numbers driven. They want to
Mhm.
prove that things work. They want to see the numbers behind it, right? So think about this. If you ate 3 meals per day, which most people do, then what we would want to see is about 18 out of the 21 meals you eat in the week being whole natural foods, which
Mhm.
gives you about 2 to 3 meals every week that can be a little bit quote unquote imperfect. Now,
Mhm.
if that imperfect meal is an entire pizza and pint of ice cream, sure, that can screw up your progress. But if you're eating within reason, off plan, you're good to go there, right? So another mindset thing that people have is that I'm either 100% or I'm 0%. I'm either going to have a
Right.
perfect week of eating or I'm going to have a horrible week of eating and it's going to all go to shit and I'm going to start over on Monday. So just remind yourself of that. I think it's helpful to even outline, like, okay, what are the things that I know I have to tackle every single week, or every single day in order to be successful? And then understanding which ones do I feel most confident in, which ones can I get working on right away. So if you're new, this is what I recommend. I actually just developed a resource that we're calling our change matrix, and it does exactly this. It's a list of what I believe the top 9 most important physical, I guess, to-dos in a day, and then mental skills that you need to develop. And I have you rank them based off of how confident you feel you can achieve it. So for me, number 1 on the list is 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night, right? Then I have you rank on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel that you can get those that amount of sleep, right? And then I go down the list. And what that allows me to do is understand these are the biggest bang for your buck next steps that you can take. So do it for yourself. You don't need a resource for it. Write down, okay, Coach Clarissa told me that these are the most important things I need to do. Here's my confidence level on each one of these things. And then the ones that you are most confident in, you start with those and you start chipping away, and then you keep going down the list to avoid this. I don't know what I should work on. I suck at everything. I'm going to do it all or I'm going to do none of it, and just kind of get yourself out of that like hazy space that a lot of people are in.
Right. Right. No, that's a really good tool. And we do that a lot, well, all the time on the coaching calls is, we will assess the week, we see what it's been like, and then it's always, client confirmation. Can you do what we need to do? And if not, then how can we break it down into smaller chunks so that you can accomplish it? Um, all right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I think those are some really good mindset tips that hopefully some people can take away. Did you have time to dive into hormone function at all, Iman, or do you have to hop on another call?
Unfortunately, I'm actually messaging a client right now because I have a call at 5:30. So I might
Okay.
have to, if you allow me, I might have to come back for hormones another time because
Okay.
I
Yeah,
love
we
talking
can.
about that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. we'll connect by message and we can get another time scheduled and we'll dive into hormones a little bit. But thank you for your time tonight. I really do appreciate you making time for us. Hopefully our community will get
Of
some value
course.
out of this. I know I certainly did. I think it was a great conversation. So thank you.
Agreed.